The Tony Farina Report, sponsored by West Her Automotive and Batavia Downs Gaming and Raceway, will return next week.
Hi, here we are at Shea's, and we're having an opportunity to talk to the president, Michael Murphy, who is not only our dear friend, but has been so instrumental in making Shea's the success that it has been in the last couple of years. Hi, Michael.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us today in this beautiful setting, at this beautiful theater. Here we are having an opportunity post-COVID to talk about the coming season. Let me just review post-COVID, what's happened pre, during, and since.
Well, it was a crazy time during, but we made it through, and with very generous people supporting us, and we were able to successfully open or reopen last August and September with Disney's Frozen. And then we had a great season, jam-packed full of shows, because not only were we doing a regular season of our 7 shows, but we were also doing 3 shows that we hadn't been able to do from the year that was canceled partway through because of COVID. And then this year we have another 7 shows, and then we have 2 specials. So we've been doing great things with the theater and with our spaces and arts engagement and education. And it's exciting, though, to know that we have a new season coming with some great hits, some new things, some things that are near and dear to people. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm just so excited just talking about it. I have goosebumps. So now let's be a little specific. It's opening with the prom. And not only am I excited, and I haven't seen it in New York, the prom, but I think they're making a movie out of it. Did you hear that? Okay.
They did make a movie out of it. And very often, I shouldn't say very often, sometimes movies of musicals don't live up to the musical itself, and that is the case in The Prom. The musical, I think, is better than the movie. Some cases, the movies are just phenomenal. Chicago is an example. But I think in this case, people will enjoy it even more being here in person.
Oh, let me ask you, as we're going to go down, are you trying to attract, The Prom is about, I'm going to say kids, can we cut that out, kids? But
yes,
to me,
high school.
It's high school, okay. So are we purposely at Shea's trying to reach out to a younger audience?
We're really trying to reach out to everyone. And The Prom is very popular with younger people as well as 6, but they're also popular with more seasoned audiences. So when crafting a season, there are so many things that go into it. What's available, what is, a lot of producers really love coming to Buffalo, so we're very early on the routing, but sometimes shows will start on the West Coast, and so then as everything shifts across the country, we have to build a season. We want to make sure the shows aren't too close together. We want to have a mix. We want to make sure we have a family show. We want to make sure we have the latest and greatest from Broadway is very important, and in the case of The Prom, that would have been here earlier if it hadn't been for COVID. But then there are shows like 6 and others that are hot off of Broadway.
And Tina is hot off Broadway. Yeah. That's the 2nd show.
Amazing show. What an incredible story about such a powerful woman in the music industry and what her life was like and has been like and is it like now. And it's just super powerful and a very moving, passionate show. And the singers who perform in that, dynamite.
Now, needless to say, you've got a lot of diversity for age, for racial diversity, for equality. I mean, the shows are all covering all aspects. And I think that's
all types
really
of stories.
Congratulations to you guys. Now, Come From Away is it's iconic at this point. And, I've seen it several times. And the thing about it is, I'm sure you realize, it makes the audience feel so good about human beings and human nature. It's a perfect time to do that show.
You're absolutely right. And it was here recently, but the demand from audience members to bring it back as quickly as possible has been quite extraordinary. A lot of people didn't realize what it was when it came here, and since it was only running a week, people didn't have time to come and see it after they heard what an amazing show it is.
Could you say, in case somebody doesn't know?
So yes, it is a musical that tells a story of 7,000 airline passengers who were stranded in Gander, Newfoundland on 9/11, and I get goosebumps as I'm describing it. It there were some people who, before they knew it, referred to it as a musical about 9/11. That's not what it is. It is a powerful story about humanity, trust, differences in race, in history, in people coming from different areas and meeting up under these incredibly difficult circumstances, and how the great people of Gander, Newfoundland took care of them 5 days until they were able to go back out in flight on that Friday.
Cooked for them and fed them and welcomed them and turned the
pets
town
and-
inside
yeah.
out. Yeah, it was amazing. But there's one thing you can guess what I loved almost better than anything else about this. And guess what? The woman pilot.
She's amazing.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
yeah.
what a story about
Yes.
an American Airlines first female pilot, and she happened to be one of the pilots flying that day,
Yeah.
and she
Great.
plays a very central role in that.
Yeah, it's great. Hadestown, I have to tell you, I haven't seen, except on the Tony Awards. I think it won a Tony a year ago, and they did a scene from it. But just by the name, I wonder if people are going to be dismissive of it or afraid of it.
I don't think so, because it has such a good pedigree coming out of New York. People really know about it because of what it won for Tonys, and that it's a really amazing story about mythology that you would not think would make the musical that it really is. And I think people, the word of mouth is really good about it. And when we did the announcement of the season, we got a lot of response online from that about having Hadestown here.
And then after that, of course, everyone, I think, knows Beetlejuice. And
Beetlejuice,
probably
Beetlejuice,
has seen it.
Beetlejuice, yes.
That's right. And can sing it and say it and whatever. So that's a fun choice.
Yes, and that's coming back to Broadway this summer. It had to close down during COVID, but that's coming back, and it's a wild show full of lots of magic and tricks and great singing as well.
People might be somewhat familiar with it. 6, as you already pointed out, is not only a runaway hit, but very interesting that it appeals to young people, women. It's just another generation. And even though it's about things that happened a long time ago,
Right.
the 6 wives of Henry.
So, as you say, about Henry VIII, who would think a musical about Henry VIII and his wives who beheaded, divorced, and so on, that it would make a great musical, but it is a somewhat of like a pop concert, but you're telling the stories about these women and the issues they faced in their time, and but it's told from a contemporary view. And it was written by 2 students in college in the UK. They did it as part of what they were doing for their studies, and all of a sudden it took off, and then it moved to the West End in London, and then onto Broadway.
And on to Shea's, on to Buffalo.
Yes.
So I'm so excited about that.
And Tony Awards.
And we saw a lot of it on the Tony Awards. And the last Jagged Little Pill, we've heard so much about that for a while. It's really not that new. I guess it's been on Broadway a little while.
It closed during COVID, and then came back for a bit. And one of the most amazing things about Jagged Little Pill for me is how they took the music of Alanis Morissette and didn't create a jukebox musical, but tell an incredibly difficult story about a family and dealing with their issues. And that when I saw Jagged Little Pill, it was the first time in my 40 years of watching Broadway shows that the audience stood up during the show. And we know standing ovations sometimes happen when they don't necessarily need to, but the audience reaction was so strong and emotional that they had no choice but to stand. It was just en masse, we all just went crazy. And that was at the end of You Ought to Know, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about that. What an incredible song, and a very important part of the story, and of course, Alanis Morissette, great music.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. You got a few specials too.
Yes.
Is that what they call it? Yeah, special engagements. Which people are familiar with and probably said, we want to see this again, right?
Yes.
Bring this back. Is that how that happens?
Very true. And in the case of Aladdin, it's very much a family show. And there are new kids who haven't seen it yet. They're growing up and want to come see Aladdin.
Everyone's
They love their
gotta see
Disney
it.
musicals. And of course, Aladdin, full of magic and great songs and a story that everyone knows. And then in the case of Dear Evan Hansen, oh my gosh, that was such a force on Broadway and helped continue the change that keeps happening on Broadway of looking at music and stories in new and different ways. What a great show.
And I think it opened the door to the shows that are on now that we'll be seeing in the next year or so.
That is true.
About young people and diversity and you know, different beliefs. So I think that was like the forefront.
Yeah.
Dear Evan Hansen was, we don't want to leave out 710 Theater, Shea's 710 Theater. We don't want it to be the stepsister or whatever you call that, but because they have wonderful shows. You have wonderful shows there.
We do.
And it's just a different, maybe describe a different venue. It's smaller, it's more intimate, that kind of thing.
That's correct. It's the former Studio Arena from back in the day, many years ago, and it's a great space. And currently it has 625 seats, but this summer we're putting in all new seating, all new carpeting, repainting, and we've have been able to invest in our sound and lighting systems there. And so we will now be a 551-seat theater, and it will reopen this fall with Once on This Island. And that's the first time that Shea's is producing a show itself, where we're doing casting, hiring the creative team, building the scenery and costumes. And Once on This Island is another one of those shows that particularly high school and middle school kids of the last 10, 15 years have got to know really well from the junior versions of that. And we know that there is a lot of demand for that show.
And now they can see a professional version of what they did.
What they did in school, yes.
Right? Okay. And I saw All Is Calm when they did it, when Kramer did it over at Music Fair. So are they doing it with you, or?
It's Musical Fair's production, but Randy and I talked about, let's do that. So I had originally seen it in New York and had suggested it to Randy as a 710 show, but then through scheduling and discussions, he did it at Musical Fair. But then when I saw it last year, he suggested, let's bring it back to 710, or bring it to 710, and so we're doing that.
It refers to a specific point in history.
The Christmas truce of December 1916, during World War I, when the British, French, and German troops had their own kind of armistice and spent Christmas Day with each other in the trenches, but not as enemies, as friends. And theater gives me goosebumps a lot, and this is another story that gives me goosebumps. It's all music, all a cappella, and what a story about these men and what they were facing with their leaders, with World War I, but how they all came together that day. And then, after that day, they had to become enemies again.
And try to kill each other.
Yeah.
It's a testament to humanity also, the whole show, and it's good for this holiday season too, and there's just a lot to it. And Murder on the Orient Express, I just assume that this is a kind of a remake?
So Ken Ludwig, who is known for his comedy, rewrote Murder on the Orient Express, 5 or 6 years ago. I saw it in Dallas when they did it at Dallas Theaters. I'm sorry, at the Alley Theater in Houston, not Dallas. And they did a production, and I really enjoyed it. And Themby Duncan, our Director of Arts Engagement and Education, was there. And so we're partnering with All for One Theater Productions, which is Irish Classical Theater, Road Less Traveled, Theater of Youth, and Musical Fair, and Shea 710. And we're doing that together. And we have Kyle LeConte coming in as the director, and we've already cast it. It's a great cast, but it is a little bit looser, more comic look at Murder on the Orient Express. A lot of fun.
And last but not least, speaking of a lot of fun, you've got Kinky Boots, which I feel like everyone has not only seen, but wants to see again and again and again. It's just so much fun.
A lot of fun, and I don't want to spoil it all for those who might not yet have seen it, but it is a very heartwarming story about a young man who inherits his father's shoe factory, wants to shut it down, but he is convinced by a drag queen to keep it open, and they create Kinky Boots. A lot of fun, and we were supposed to do that during COVID with Musical Fair, and they're now doing it, and Lynn Curzel-Formato is directing that. Great director and choreographer.
And wear red boots. And everyone that comes, heels, boots with heels.
Yeah, high heels.
It's a prerequisite.
And they
Right.
come up above the knee.
Yeah, we have mandatory dress requirement to
Yep.
see the show. What's really important too about 710 is what you mentioned, the collaboration with the other theaters in the community. It's
Yeah.
so important.
Working together in Buffalo Theater is great. We're also looking at some other collaborations that we're going to be doing the following year. Those are already in discussion. But theaters partnering together to help continue to build a strong and even stronger theater community in Buffalo is vital. It's what we need to keep stories coming that are relevant to everyone, and creating new works and developing new works and looking at classics in new and different ways, looking at them with a different lens than what we might have 20 years ago. Very important. I think our theaters in town are doing a great job of that.
I do too. And also education. I just wanted you
Arts
to
and-
talk a little bit about the education.
Thank you. Arts engagement and education are very important to me. It was when I came back to Buffalo to work at Shea's, that was one of the things that we all agreed that was something really important and that we had to continue to build upon our past successes. So we've created a larger arts engagement and education department. They continue to grow programs, working in the community in various ways, and also, of course, working with the Kenny Awards, which leads, that's our local high school musical theater awards. That leads the two winners from that, a boy and a girl, to go to New York for the Jimmy Awards, which were just held at the end of June in New York City. The kids were on a Broadway stage, an incredible performance. 2 of the 92 kids who were there were from Buffalo, and it was a great experience for them. And then summer programming, and we did a lot of online programming during COVID, trying to keep everyone engaged.
We're trying to get homegrown talent. Is what we want, right?
Yes, and there
they
is
can
a lot
end
of-
up on Shea's,
Yeah.
on the stage at Shea's,
Well,
right?
we've had that.
I know. Yes, we
and
have.
There are a lot of great artists who have come out of Buffalo.
And sometimes when we have the show, the different shows, we've come to find people who are in the show who were brought up here, and we've come to
Yep.
talk to them, you know,
Yep.
who went to school here in Lancaster or Buffalo or something. It's really exciting. Okay, so now everyone wants to go. What can they do? Can they still get tickets? Can they get seasons tickets? What should they do?
They can get season tickets by going to shays.org, and that guarantees them their seats and their locations, and they can keep those seats as long as they're subscribers, or they can try to move up. But we have a lot of dedicated subscribers here, and so it can sometimes be hard to move up. But single tickets will go on about 6 weeks before each production, and but being a subscriber is the best way to lock yourself in, and you also get a discount that way.
And it's a good time. It's not too early. It's not too late.
Not too late.
Not too late.
Never too early, but it's not too late.
Okay, good.
And we last year we had a little over 16,000 subscribers, and we're already well over 14,000 now, and there's still a couple of months before the season starts at the end of September with the prom.
I hope those months fly by.
And people can also subscribe to 710 for those 4 shows. There are packages available there. And I really do encourage people to go to 710. It is just as rewarding as experiencing shows at Shea's Buffalo. You're just in a different environment, and you're seeing a different type of work, but in a more intimate way, and connecting with the performers and creative team in a different way.
Curtain up, everybody. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you at the theater.
Thanks, Judge.
You can find out more about the M&T Bank Broadway series, the shows, and 710 Theater online at shays.org. I'm Judge Penny Wolfgang. As we end this edition of The Big Picture, we'll share some video of the exciting fireworks from Russell J. Salvatore's recent 4th of July party. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.